Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So the CW has cast their Vandal Savage. He's going to appear on The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. He's the big bad for Legends of Tomorrow, but he's going to debut in like the big Flash versus Arrow crossover this year. That's going to be episode 8 of both those shows. Remember, Legends of Tomorrow doesn't start till January whenever Arrow and Flash come back. What I'm expecting is because they have like a bunch of new Legends of Tomorrow characters that they're going to introduce on the Flash and Arrow in like the first half of the season, is that they'll refer to Vandal Savage. Like we'll hear about him, but supposedly we're not going to see him, like physically see him on screen till that big crossover episode. The actor that they cast is named Casper Crump. I'm not super familiar with him. He definitely looks the part, but he's a Danish actor. So if you're in the UK, you're probably a little more familiar with him than everyone else. Now they've also cast Hawkman, but I'm going to do a separate video for him. This is mostly about Vandal Savage, but his name is Falk Henschel. You might be a little more familiar with him. He's had small parts in really big movies like White House Down and Transcendence, so you may have seen him before. We've already met Hawkgirl, of course, so Hawkman was actually a big surprise for me. I'll talk a little bit more about him during that video, but because the foundation of the show is built on time travel, they're going to visit multiple really big events in DC's comic book history. So naturally, we're probably going to see Hawkman and Hawkgirl get reincarnated. The entire story isn't about them, but I mean, we'll probably visit stuff like the Flash crisis that they teased in that future newspaper, even though that only started out as an Easter egg. Originally, whenever they did the Flash pilot, that was just like a fun thing that they were doing as a wink to the audience. But on to Vandal Savage. Everybody starts swirling a glass of wine in a really sinister way. So Vandal Savage, probably one of the biggest DC villains that we haven't seen in a live-action TV show in a major way. Dean Cain did play a version of the character on Smallville, but at the last minute when they were getting ready to actually shoot the episode, Warner Brothers was like, nope, you can't use that Vandal Savage name. So unofficially, Vandal Savage has been on TV. There's all the animated movies, of course, too. He's been in a lot of Justice League animated stuff. People always wonder about how that fits in with the live-action stuff. The animated stuff that they've done before isn't canon. The exception to that is now Vixen. The Vixen series that they're doing 6 episodes for, that's going to be a tie-in with Arrow and the Flash in that universe. So whenever they bring Vandal Savage on the Arrow and Flash, they'll completely explain his history. The narrative will assume that he hasn't been around in the universe before, so it'll explain his existence. Like, how is it that you're immortal and we haven't heard about you before? Arrow did the same thing with Ra's al Ghul and Damien Dark. We follow Oliver and Barry as they learn about all these big villains. As comic book readers, though, we already know like all these villains, all these storylines, how they play out. Most of the storylines that Vandal Savage has had, the biggest storylines, are Justice Society. Now, it's weird that they're not calling Legends of Tomorrow Justice Society, even though that's kind of what the show is, but I'm suspecting that Warner Brothers didn't want them to use it because they're developing some other Justice Society TV show. That's just speculation, though. They haven't announced anything like that. Just to explain his powers, you may know that he's immortal, but he is roughly 50,000 years old. As an adult, he was exposed to quote-unquote mysterious radiation from a meteor and stopped aging, cut to 50,000 years later. But he's been around for the entirety of human history. So he's like the guy behind the guy. You have like Damien Dark, the Reverse Flash, like all these big villains. They're like Darth Vader. He's kind of like the Emperor. At least that's the way they're presenting him in the TV universe. Speaking of which, Vandal Savage, the radiation also gave him a measure of super strength, super speed, and it evolved his brain just a little bit. So I would put his intelligence on the level with Eobard Thawne. But most of his evil plans don't involve hardcore technology in the way that the Reverse Flashes do. As you see in like a lot of like the animated movies, he grows a cult-like following, turns them into an army, uses them to take over. There was a storyline a while ago where like a lot of his abilities, like his ability to regenerate, was diminished, so he had to start going around eating his children. He has many children. I mean, he's grown up, he can have children, he's had many of them over the years. They kind of did the same thing with the Ra's al Ghul character, whereby he's had a number of children that have grown and lived normal lifespans, whereas he continues to be functionally immortal. So we may or may not see some of the progeny of Vandal Savage on Legends of Tomorrow. We'll see how they deal with that. I've always wanted Felicity's dad to secretly be like a big villain for Arrow at some point, but if that's going to be the case, I think it'd be Damien Dark, just because they want a character that's more central to Arrow's storyline, and Vandal Savage is kind of like a shared villain. Speaking of which, I don't know how they'll be working together, but Vandal Savage will be working with the big bad on The Flash and the big bad on Arrow. Now we know Damien Dark is the big bad on Arrow, but we just learned that Zoom is the big bad for Season 2 of The Flash. In the comics, Vandal Savage has been associated with Secret Society of Supervillains, Injustice Society, Tartarus, and Demon Knights. Of all those, I think the closest we'll get to on Legends of Tomorrow is Secret Society or Injustice Society. Just the name Secret Society sounds a little more realistic, so they might go with that. Or they might not even call it that. They might just vaguely refer to some shadow organization that Vandal Savage is the head of. Now on the flip side, the driving force of Legends of Tomorrow is going to be Rip Hunter fighting for the Time Masters to fix all the stuff that Vandal Savage is doing through time and space. But Vandal Savage's biggest nemesis in the comics is the Immortal Man. He's another person from the tribe Vandal Savage was born to, who later, after Vandal Savage did, approached the same meteorite and gained some of the same powers. I don't know if we're going to see him on Legends of Tomorrow, but we will probably see Vandal Savage touch the meteorite. Like, we'll see Rip Hunter take the heroes back to Vandal Savage's creation the moment he gained his powers. A lot of you guys have also probably seen my multiverse videos that I've done for The Flash Season 2. Obviously, the multiverse is a much bigger context. It's not only going to be explored on The Flash, but Vandal Savage started out on Earth 2, before Crisis on Infinite Earths. The comics tend to change backstories from time to time, but during that Season 2 promo, we hear Jay Garrick say, "Your world is in danger." He's from Earth 2, so he might also be talking about Vandal Savage when he's talking about Zoom. And as much as the show is going to be visiting big moments in DC history, we might get to see some really cool Vandal Savage conquests when he was living under other names. He claims that he is Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Vlad the Impaler, Blackbeard. Like, he claims to be all these really notorious figures from history. Probably my favorite Vandal Savage story, though, is something that they might just completely sidestep. If you haven't read it, it's called Demon Knights. It's kind of like a version of Marvel's 1602 series that takes place way back in the past, in the days of Camelot. It gets into a lot of mysticism, and even though Arrow Season 4 is like going hardcore on mysticism, I don't know how crazy they'll get with Vandal Savage and magic. And for those asking about Green Lantern stuff, yes, Vandal Savage appeared for the first time in Green Lantern number 10 way back in the Golden Age. They might do some Easter eggs for Green Lantern, but Mark Guggenheim has made statements that make it seem like they can't actually do Green Lantern characters. That doesn't mean they won't refer to the Green Lantern Corps, but I'm not expecting to see Hal Jordan on screen. Whenever Arrow and the Flash has done really big characters, they usually do something, even if they change the character a little bit, they usually do something that's true to their original appearance in the comics. The last big storyline that Savage was a part of was Trinity War, where he tries to take Pandora's box from her. She gives it to him, but he can't open it because he has like some good in his heart. So he's not going to be like your standard mustache-twirling villain. Think about how Eobard Thawne and Harrison Wells looked on The Flash Season 1. He developed a genuine connection with Team Flash. Like, he actually cared for Cisco, even though he had a plan and he wasn't going to deviate from it. Like the way Tom Cavanaugh explains it, the Reverse Flash in Season 1, he has this mission. He's not going to let anything get in his way, but that didn't stop him from growing attached to Cisco like a son. When he said that before he ended up killing Cisco, he actually meant it, as Tom Cavanaugh explains it. So Vandal Savage will be oppressing the Earth, not because he hates it, but because he loves it. He's going to crush you with all of his good intentions, as he cackles and shouts into the sky. So here's my big question for you guys. How do you want to see Vandal Savage appear for the first time in that Flash vs. Arrow crossover? Like, do you want him to just kind of walk out of the shadows, or do you want it to be some sort of flashback moment? I'm kind of surprised that they revealed which episode he was going to appear in up front. Usually that's something that they save, but it makes sense. We're going to see Hawkgirl before that. We'll probably see Hawkman before that. And rolling out your big bad is historically something that they do around mid-season finale time. And if he's going to be a shared villain, you might as well do him in the episode where both casts work together. Remember though, that crossover episode is a 2-part episode. Like, the first half will take place on The Flash, the second half will take place on Arrow, and it'll be episode 8 of both shows. So my next DC video will be that Hawkman video. Be sure to subscribe to get it. I have to do a Deadpool Q&A just for the amazingness that trailer was last night. So that'll be my next video. Then after that, I'll do that Hawkman video. While you guys wait for that stuff to post, you can click here to watch the Deadpool trailer again like 10 or 15 more times. And you can click here to learn all about who the Blue Flash is. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.